Looking at the technological advances, I used to be on dial-up looking for...
Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. This is your host, MagMongoSlade. So, Candy Cartwright, aka Samantha Tavel, has decided to drop the sexual assault case against Matt Riddle. And it's... Now, the too long didn't listen version is we don't know why. She just initiated the attempt to drop the case on, July the 13th. So earlier in the day, July the 13th. And there was no reason given. So could it be, well, she figured there was no way to win this. It was getting expensive. Perhaps. Could it have been that, her and Riddle came to some type of financial agreement? Perhaps. But I want to be upfront from my tone and tenor of this conversation. If I thought that Riddle really had done something, my conversation on this would be a lot different. But because I don't believe this story, it's going to be pretty brutal. All right. So if you're one of those believe all women types, it's not going to work out for you. I've done videos on this before. This is one of my pleb filter videos. Sometimes people just like me, like, oh yeah, you do cute wrestling videos. Like, yeah. But I also talk about serious issues. And to me, this is a serious issue because it completely derailed the guy's career for a while. And we're coming off the heels of the whole Bill Cosby situation, which I didn't want to get into on the channel, and which I won't get into. But let's just say people filing lawsuits for things that are criminal, I just have a complete distaste for them. And I get it that sometimes, hey, you don't have enough evidence for a criminal case, but civil case is not criminal. That's what people need to realize. It's a different standard when it comes to guilt or innocence or preponderance of the evidence and all that kind of stuff. And when people can't get you arrested for something that they believe that you did in a criminal case, they will often go civil with it. So this is what Candy Cartwright tried to do. Now, I will put the other videos I did that would probably flesh this out a lot more in the description. So we're going to go to PW Insider because they do a pretty good job of detailing what took place, and they do a really good job. PW Insider is good shit. And they do a decent job when it comes to legal issues. Like, they really go and get the documents and quote them and stuff like that. I don't even feel like I need to double check PW Insider. Other wrestling journalists, I truly do double check what they do. But with PW Insider, I feel pretty good. So I'm just going to read the article they put up. This is from Mike Johnson. So it says, it reads, independent wrestler Samantha Tavel, aka Candy Cartwright, informed the United States District Court, Northern District of Illinois yesterday that she was dropping her lawsuit against WWE star Matt Riddle. The filing reads as follows. Plaintiff Samantha Tavel hereby voluntarily dismisses the matter with prejudice under Federal Rule of Civil Procedure, a bunch of numbers and letters, not important, with each side to bear their own attorney's fees and costs. All future dates, if any, should be stricken. Respectfully submitted, Samantha Tavel. All right, so the language of this instance, right, of this thing right here is very interesting. With each side to bear their own attorney's fees and costs. So, here's the thing. I believe Samantha Tavel was being aided by that Time's Up, which is a very heavily feminist-led organization that where they pay for you to have a lawyer. So she really didn't need the money. I mean, so she didn't really need legal costs. So she basically was trying to drain Riddle's financial coffers. I think that's probably what she was trying to do. In this situation, obviously he has a job working for WWE. A lot of people made fun of his attorney when his attorney first filed the lawsuit. They kind of made fun of him because of the paper that he used. But if they got these guys to drop the case, I don't know. Maybe his attorney wasn't kayfabe. But let's read on. See, Tavel announced during a Chicago press conference on October the 18th, 2019, or was it 20? The dates are kind of screwed up here. That she was filing a lawsuit against WWE SmackDown star Riddle, WWE Entertainment, WWE rather, the now defunct Evolve promotion, and Gabe Sapolsky. With the exception of Riddle, the court had agreed with the other defendants that there was no bearing for them to be a part of the case. So what ended up happening is Gabe Sapolsky, Evolve, and WWE all got cut free from this lawsuit because, for starters, he didn't even work for WWE at the time. They had a working relationship with Evolve, sure, but he didn't work for WWE. The car that they were in was not the official Evolve vehicle that Gabe Sapolsky, who was the owner of Evolve, I believe, I'm pretty sure he was the owner and booker of Evolve. He did not pay for that. It was, I think they were riding with a cameraman or something like that. So it wasn't technically Evolve's, business what took place either. So that's how WWE, he didn't work there, didn't have anything to do with them. And Evolve didn't sponsor the ride that she supposedly was, allegedly, let's put it like that, sexually assaulted on. So that's how they were able to get free. And Gabe Sapolsky, since he was only wrapped up in it because of Evolve, was cut loose. So that means it's just her and Riddle. The lawsuit, which sought $10 million against each of the defendants, stemmed from the Cartwright's allegations, which became public during the speaking out movement online, that Riddle allegedly choked and forced her to perform oral sex on her in May 2018. According to the Chicago Sun-Times article, Tavel was allegedly approached for sex by Riddle, who she was in a relationship with, but said she was not comfortable having sex on the bus because other wrestlers were present. The article cited, once she said no, Riddle put his hands on her neck and said, quote, "What if I just made you?" Tavel recalled at a news conference Thursday at the Union League Club, 65 West Jackson Boulevard. "I never thought he would do anything to hurt me. And in that moment, I was terrified," she added. Now, I didn't even know this that took place because I didn't read this article. I read the court documents. This is salacious. That is very salacious. That she did a press conference and did this. John, what kind of name? This is a typical lawyer's name. Schwarzinski. I will spell it for people. CHWARZYNSKI. What kind of name is that? What kind of name is that? Anyway, Tavel's attorney, John Schwarzinski, Tavel's attorney, stated during the press conference that the alleged incident was among, quote, multitude of sexual assaults committed by Riddle against my client, Candy Cartwright. The lawsuit alleged Tavel was assaulted multiple times between 2017 and January 2020 by Riddle. The WWE has painted a picture over the course of the years that female performers are to comply with certain rules, Schwarzinski said when filing the lawsuit. The WWE, since its inception, has hypersexualized female performers, and they've profited from male aggression against these female performers. So that should tell you what's going on, right? That should tell you right there. That has nothing to do with Matt Riddle. For starters, it's not even true. It's salacious political bullshit. He says, quote, I'm going to read it again. The WWE has painted a picture over the course of the years that female performers are to comply with certain rules. Everybody has to comply with certain rules. Okay, what rules specifically are you talking about? Do you have like the major? I think there was a sexual harassment suit against Vince, but the only other major sexual or the Sable lawsuit too. So I guess it was two throughout the history of WWE that I can think of. Maybe there might have been more, but I think the biggest one was actually against young boys, and that was the Ring Boy scandal. So yeah, young boys were taken advantage of, and it ended up getting Vince on Donahue. So that ended up being a real big deal. But so what is he talking about when he says that women have to follow certain rules? Like, what does that mean? What do we mean by this? It's just bizarre. It says and then he continued, the WWE since its inception, since 1963, there weren't even really women on the card at that point. And then when they started really bringing women in, it was basically like Moolah and her girls, and they were presented as just as female wrestlers. They weren't really hypersexualized. I mean, the Jumping Bomb Angels weren't like huge tittied, Judy Martin wasn't a super TNA. Wendy Victor wasn't like TNA. Neither was Alundra Blaze. It was like a short amount of time from like 95, I guess you can count Sunny, to what, 2012 maybe 2013 or something like that. So you can give it about 17 years, 15 years maybe. And then even in that time, there were still female athletes. So it's weird. And then they've profited from male aggression against these female performers. They've also profited from females attacking men. Do you not know who China is? Do you not know Stephanie has smacked every male face on the roster? I mean, we this stuff is political bullshit. So to get back to the article, WWE did not have Riddle under contract during the time frame of the allegations and were not involved in the Evolve events, one of the reasons they were dismissed by the court as a defendant. In 2020, Riddle filed his own motion to dismiss the lawsuit. In that filing, Riddle stated that he and Tavel entered an extramarital affair in April 2017 after meeting while performing for Evolve at an event in New York City. They continued to maintain that relationship until Riddle's wife learned of it, at which point Riddle claims he ended his relationship with Tavel. In his filing, Riddle alleges, quote, Miss Tavel had a hard time accepting the end of the relationship, and Mr. Riddle changed his telephone number more than once to avoid her calls. Mr. Riddle had no control over any employment relationship Miss Tavel had with Evolve or WWE. Now, this is where we get Drake warts. Because your boy, your guy, Bixenspan, was trying to make the argument that Candy Cartwright was supposed to get a tryout or something like that with WWE. This is the story. I don't know if this is official story. He might have changed it since. I don't have screenshots where I would post them. I'm trying to do this from memory, so hopefully I'm not wrong. Hopefully I'm not slandering y'all boy, Mr. Bixenspan. But if I remember correctly, Bixenspan proposed the idea that Drake Wirtz, who was working in the office at WWE at the time, was in control of booking Evolve talent as a talent liaison with NXT. And that due to some headbutting between Candy Cartwright and other talent, her bookings for WWE were taken away. And they were saying like, oh, well, she was punished for her relationship with Matt Riddle. That was kind of the thing that they was pushing around here when this stuff first came out. Because it's dirt. Pigs like to root in dirt. And instead of letting things play out, people just had their own theories that they were throwing out there. And that was one of them. That there was this Matt Riddle, Drake Wirtz, WWE, NXT Nexus that had kicked out Candy Cartwright and wouldn't give her a job or wouldn't give her any type of opportunities. And this is Matt Riddle, a guy who wasn't even under contract at the time. I think he might have been on NXT, might have been on the low guy on the totem pole, had the power to get her booted from. It's weird, right? Very strange. Let's continue. Tavel remained working for Evolve in some fashion until the promotion shut down in the wake of the financial losses due to COVID-19 pandemic, leading to the cancellation of their Tampa, Florida events, WrestleMania 36 weekend. WWE purchased the assets of Evolve Incorporated, including its tape library. That is true. In regard to Tavel's accusations, Riddle's December 2020 filing denied any wrongdoing on his part, stating, quote, Mr. Riddle emphatically denies Miss Tavel's torrid tale. He and Miss Tavel had a nearly 3-year affair during which they engaged only in consensual sexual activity. In July 2019, Mr. Riddle ended the affair after his wife learned of the relationship. In June 2020, Miss Tavel tweeted an accusation that he sexually assaulted her in a van while other wrestlers were asleep. And that's really when I decided that this was probably cockamamie bullshit. Because the story is that Matt Riddle forced her to give him a blowjob in a car full of other people. And they were supposedly asleep. One of which is Keith Lee, who was still on the roster. He was doing some shots for Evolve at the time. He is currently under WWE contract. And, and everybody except Matt Riddle and the driver of the car was asleep. And they slept through a sexual assault, apparently. Not likely. And the other guy couldn't see it in his rearview mirror either. I mean, because apparently he was blind while he was driving. And this girl was being forced to give a blowjob in the backseat of the car. It just doesn't make sense. Right? Just saying it doesn't make sense from me. Okay? Your mileage may vary on this. Let's go back to the article. Riddle's motion claimed that Tavel's lawsuit should be dismissed because it fails to establish that the Circuit Court of Cook County has jurisdiction over Riddle to begin with, and that Tavel's specific allegations also fail to meet federal pleading requirements that bring them beyond speculation. Riddle's attorneys argued that the lawsuit fails to claim that Riddle's, quote, allegedly tortious activities were purposefully directed at residents of the forum, as Tavel is not and has never been a resident of Illinois. Riddle's attorneys also argued that since he does not live or own property in Illinois, he cannot fall under their jurisdiction. The motion to dismiss argued that Riddle was in Illinois performing for Evolve and that the alleged incident happened, quote, on a bus leaving the venue. Therefore, the duties would have been completed by the time he was alleged to have assaulted Tavel. So any professional connection to the state of Illinois had been completed. It also claimed that Tavel cannot claim any connection to her, quote, alleged injuries from Riddle's alleged sexual assault against her and the state of Illinois. For all those reasons, Riddle's attorney claimed the lawsuit against him should be thrown out, as they are not strong enough under Illinois law to move forward, and that neither party should fall under Illinois jurisdiction in court. The filing made mention of 2 different alleged incidents. Miss Tavel, quote, Miss Tavel pleads 2 specific alleged assaults, one in April 2017 and one on May 19, 2018, but no facts tie these alleged injuries to Illinois. Interesting. The April 2017 alleged incident is referenced to Riddle's motion, noted, quoting Mr. Riddle. Mr. Riddle believes the April 2017 allegation refers to a consensual sexual encounter the couple had in a car on or about April 23rd, 2017 in New York City after an Evolve event. Mr. Riddle was not in Illinois in April 2017 and did not purposefully direct his activities at any Illinois residents in April 2017. So there is that. Apparently they were hooking up after Evolve shows. And since Evolve didn't run all the time, they ran like a couple of weekends. I think they ran like a couple of weekends a month. You know, he can easily look at his booking sheets and see where he was at these times if he was just hooking up with her while he was out on the road. Then him tracing his steps has to be pretty easy because he knows where he was because he got booking sheets. Anyway, let's get back to this article. Riddle also specifically responded to Tavel's allegations that he assaulted her on May 19th, 2018 in Illinois following the Evolve 104 event. In his response, Riddle stated that he did not perform that evening at Evolve 104 in Illinois and that Tavel was at the event as well. Oh, he stated that he did perform, I'm sorry. And that Tavel was also at the event. Riddle stated that a videographer named Joseph M. Ranta transported numerous performers from the venue to their hotel in Michigan in his van. Tavel claims he made reference to a bus, but her initial tweet referred to a van while sleeping Evolve wrestlers, as there were other Evolve event in Livonia the next day. So they were going from Illinois to Michigan, which is it's a pretty decent drive. And this was also a van, sure. Riddle's response featured an affidavit filed by Ranta, as well as photos of the exterior and interior of his van. I'm guessing Mr. Ranta's van. Ranta's affidavit stated that on the evening in question, then Evolve talents Keith Lee, Anthony Henry, and J.D. Drake were also in the van, with Drake sitting in the front passenger seat, Henry and Lee in the center seats, and Riddle and Tavel in the back seats. The records from Ranta's GPS on the evening in question were also filed as evidence, noting they left the Summit Park District in Illinois on May 20th, 2018 at 12:26 a.m. They stopped for gas and left that gas station at 12:34 a.m. Then drove 33 miles to a Denny's restaurant, arriving in Portage, Indiana at 1:22 a.m., 48 minutes later, stating that they entered Indiana 36 minutes into their drive, around 1:10 a.m. Ranta's affidavit stated that out of all of the passengers, only Keith Lee fell asleep during the drive to Denny's, and that the other 4 passengers were awake. Follow along, please. Follow the product. Ranta's affidavit then stated that everyone exited the Denny's at 2:35 a.m., driving 2 hours, 37 minutes to Ranta's home in Mason, Michigan. Ranta stated that Drake, Lee, and Henry had all fallen asleep during that ride, with himself, Riddle, and Tavel all being awake the entire ride. Ranta stated that he, Tavel, and Riddle spent 12 minutes at Ranta's home before he drove everyone to the Comfort Inn Metro Airport near Detroit, Michigan, where the wrestlers were staying. The affidavit does not mention that any alleged assault took place, but also does not deny one happened. Okay, so that's really what changed my mind. When I saw this affidavit, my mind was completely changed, because I would think this guy would know, right? Now, he doesn't want to be involved in this. That's why he's not going to deny that it happened. He doesn't want to be involved with this. He just want to tell the story of what took place, okay? And that's really all he's responsible for doing. It should be noted that, again, Keith Lee is under WWE contract currently, and so does Anthony Henry. He is working in NXT under a different name. I believe it's Asher Hale, if I remember correctly. JD Drake is doing whatever he's doing in AEW. So this affidavit, Mr. Ranta's affidavit, is what changed my mind. Because I've been in these kinds of vans. You can see in the back seat. Okay, you can see. Okay, you can see in the back seat. Let's continue the article. Riddle's filing featured the following claim: attempting to state that if any incident even happened, it most likely didn't transpire in Illinois. Based on Mr. Ranta's GPS and Ms. Tavel's June 19, 2020 Twitter post, the earliest time the assault could have occurred was during the 2.5-hour drive between the Denny's in Portage, Indiana, and Mr. Ranta's residence in Mason, Michigan. Therefore, it is impossible to state a claim under IGVA for violence that did not arise in Illinois between non-residents of Illinois. Good Lord. Riddle's filing also claimed, even drawing the facts in a light most favorable to Ms. Tavel, the May 19, 2018 assault is inherently implausible, and her right to relief is speculative at best. Muhammad v. Sidecar Technologies, and it gives some a court case dismissing claim where a court could not draw reasonable inference that defendant violated the statutes based on conclusory and speculative allegations. It is implausible that Mr. Riddle would ask to engage in sexual intercourse, quote, in front of other members of Evolve while on a bus, end quote. Immediately after performing at a wrestling event without any witnesses in a small but full vehicle, if that did happen, no matter the size of the vehicle, surely someone would have noticed the assault and said something. Court count I does not plausibly state a claim and it should be dismissed. It was a typo there, so I read the typo. I'm like Ron, I'm like Anchorman. I'm reading typos. Anyway, Riddle's attempt at dismissing the case had been denied by the court. He and Tavel were in the middle of a discovery period where each side shares with the other their evidence and planned arguments. In a status report filed by Riddle to update the court on April 21st, I guess that would be 2021, it was noted that Riddle's side had attempted to contact Cartwright's attorneys to file a joint status report, but never heard despite attempts at contacts via email and telephone. At that time, Riddle laid out the following plan. Mr. Riddle proposes the following discovery plan. Article A. Electronically stored information will be furnished in PDF or .tiff format, unless another format is otherwise agreed upon. Prior to conducting any ESIA discovery, that will be electronically stored information, the parties shall meet and confer on a list of custodians and search items. Article B. The parties will seek, prior to production of any documents, a protective order limiting the use of certain documents produced in connection with the litigation of the instant case, and mandating that each party will destroy all documents produced to it by the opposing party following the final appeal of the instant case. Article C. The parties will make all initial disclosures within 30 days of the joint status or by May 21st, 2021. Article D. The parties do not currently anticipate any expert witness in this matter, but reserve the right to do so. Article E. Physical or mental examinations of any party whose mental or physical condition is in controversy are not anticipated. Article F. All discovery will be completed by December 31st, 2021. Any written interrogatories or requests for production shall be served no later than 30 days before the discovery cutoff, a date that allows the served parties the full 30 days as provided by the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure in which to answer or produce by the discovery cutoff date. This does not limit the parties' ability to demand that other side fully respond to disputed discovery requests. Article G. No matter is pertinent to the completion of discovery at this time. Okay. Riddle noted at the time that he expected to file a summary judgment against Tavel, basically a motion arguing why the case should be thrown out of court. That will no longer be necessary. It is also noted in the April filing that while Tavel is seeking a jury trial, Riddle does not believe one is necessary, which would mean he wants the presiding judge to rule over the case if and when a trial is completed. Riddle's status filing in April stated that Tavel, quote, demanded $10 million to settle, and that he would, quote, not consider a magistrate level settlement conference at this time. So she wanted $10 million, even from Matt Riddle. What the fuck Matt Riddle's gonna get $10 million? He gonna go up to Vince McMahon and say, bro, I need $10 million, bro. No, it's just not going to happen. It's not reasonable. It's not reasonable. So while Tavel's, go back to the article, while Tavel's lawsuit was initially filed before Cook County in Illinois, WWE successfully moved to have the lawsuit removed to the Northern District of Illinois. It was believed that the earliest the two sides to go to trial would be May 2022, so there was a long process ahead. The court officially closed the lawsuit yesterday, so as of now, there will be no further proceedings. It should be noted that the lawsuit was voluntarily dismissed with prejudice, which means that Tavel could not resurrect it down the line. There is no word why Tavel withdrew the lawsuit or whether the sides came to some sort of private settlement on her claims. So, this is an interesting piece of business. They were getting down to the nitty gritty where there's going to be some discovery, which is where, you start looking through each other's information. What information do you have? What information do you have? If Riddle has filed an affidavit with Mr. Ranta's vehicle, which is supposedly the crime scene, then you have to look at the size of the vehicle. The court's going to be able to look at the size of the vehicle. Going to be able to look at would it have been easily visible to see a sexual assault in that vehicle, which, since I have been in these vehicles, yes, it would have been. You can see in the back seat. Now if it was a big bus, then sure, maybe you could probably get away with saying that people didn't see it. But if it was just a passenger van that fits 5 people, yeah, you would have seen it or heard it. I mean, even if the music was turned up loud, let's say he blasted music, then how was the people sleeping with the music blasted? There's a lot of stuff that goes into this that really wouldn't have made any sense. However, the position that Samantha Tavel, aka Candy Cartwright, was a bitter ex-girlfriend who got dumped and decided she was going to destroy this guy's career, that makes a lot of sense to me. And it may not make that much sense to you. Make a lot of sense to me. Right? It's unfortunate. Hopefully it didn't occur. I always err on the side of, I hope it didn't happen. They always do a good job in these articles of trying to be fair. That's the good thing about wrestling journalists like PW Insider and like some others. They try to be fair. And then you have your mudslingers who are, 100%, this must have happened. And here's all the conspiracy theories that come with it. I just say, let's let the shit play out and we'll pick up, bits and pieces of information if we can prove that stuff later on down the line. And since I'm not a wrestling journalist, I'm a guy who does a wrestling YouTube channel. It's okay for me to throw shit out there, right? I want to be a trusted name, but I also want people to do their own research and to correct me if I need to be corrected. I am not somebody who's going to block you for correcting me. Sometimes I'm wrong. And, there are other people, namely, and see, what really got my dander up is that they really tried to destroy this guy. For like a long time, they were trying to destroy Matt Riddle. And then when the court case started to unravel, and people started to, and most of these people didn't read the articles and stuff. Like, they were just too busy making fun of Matt Riddle's lawyer for the paperwork that he filed. And, oh, look at what he did. Look at how the paperwork that he sent in. He's a really stupid attorney. Riddle's going to end up losing a bunch of money, and WWE's going to have to fire him. And I was just kind of like, we'll see. And then you had people just looking for reasons to destroy the guy. Like, one of the things that I saw that really bothered me, and it popped up in this article, is the idea that Matt Riddle, as a MMA fighter, and this was also came from Big Sense Band. Hopefully I'm not slandering this guy, and I actually, because I don't screenshot everything, and a lot of this stuff is over a year old, so I'm trying to remember it. But I do remember him or somebody to that effect. Maybe one of his sycophants, maybe it's somebody like that, who was talking about how Riddle is a guy who is rewarded for aggression. He's a former MMA fighter, God damn it. He's rewarded for aggression. He's very comfortable with violence. So of course he might force a woman to have sex with him. And I'm just kind of looking like, what the fuck? Now we're going to stereotype people based on their job? Because a guy's an MMA fighter and he's comfortable with violence, all of a sudden he's a fucking rapist? That doesn't even make any fucking sense. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, that kind of stuff was floating around out here. And I'm not, I know I sound like, oh, Riddle got away with it, or he beat the case or whatever. But it says something when she is the one who withdrew. It says something when she is the one who withdrew the complaint. It says something. And to me, it's BS. Because she did embarrass him. She did a lot of damage to his career. That's probably why they changed his name, if we're being honest. They didn't want people Googling Matt Riddle and coming up with, all this sexual harassment, sexual assault shit, and it's screwed up. because it did damage his name, and then he was forced to, go out here and apologize and admit that he was having affairs on his wife and all that kind of stuff. So, and then some people were kind of like, look, I don't like him for that. Some people were just kind of like, look, maybe he didn't rape the chick, but he cheated on his wife, and even though now people don't like his wife because of what she said about Becky Lynch, like the Riddles are real pieces of work, and I think that's also another thing. I'm not going to say like Matt Riddle's the greatest guy on earth. He roasts people the wrong way. He did it to Bill Goldberg, and he did it to Brock, and he did it to Seth Rollins, him and his wife, pissed off Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. He was pretty abrasive, and none of that stuff helped his case because it made him come across like a jackass, so we had somebody that people, a lot of people were not familiar with him, and because they just only knew that he was an MMA fighter for a little while, and that didn't work out, and now he's a wrestler, and he's been wrestling for a little while now. But then they find out, oh yeah, this guy had a 3-year affair on his wife, which he had to apologize for. He had to admit to, because this whole sexual assault thing. And then people were kind of like, well, he had to have done that, and WWE's going to try to cover up for him, and all that kind of stuff is, because that's where people go with it. And then when they find out, oh yeah, his wife said this fucked up stuff about Becky Lynch, when she said that Becky Lynch was out of shape or something like that. And, then Seth Rollins didn't like Riddle. And then that, of course, made Seth Rollins, who everybody hates, that made him a babyface, because they were like, oh, he hates the same guy that we hate. So it was just like a whole thing that, and I'm glad for him that it's over. I just hope that he didn't do it. I always reserve the right to be wrong. I always accept that I can be wrong. And maybe he did do something to her. Maybe he paid her off. Maybe he gave her $200,000 or something like that to go away. Who knows? But ultimately, the fact that this thing is over is a win for Riddle, because now this is not dangling over his head anymore. Nobody knows what happened. Likely nobody will know what happened unless somebody talks about it, which they're probably going to have non-disclosures, whatever it is. And it's going to be over. And we can all move on. So, might be Riddle's lucky week. He might, get this case dismissed and win Money in the Bank. Who knows? But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys. Oh yeah, donate too. Donate via Subscribestar or send cash via the Cash App. Either way it goes, I'll talk to you guys later. If you are a sycophant for David Bixen's band, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, or, whatever. But I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace.
Skin tone, so why attach yourself and piggyback the wealth you didn't earn or lack yourself? I'm telling you to own up to your own success and failures. It's a reason why these sleazy guys